Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Our regularly scheduled Tuesday programming. That include Glenn West of Go 24/7 at 1:30 and Sharif Ishak from WDSU down in New Orleans at 2:30. We'll be talking Saints with Sharif. And, of course, be talking about the Tigers with Glenn West. We'll hear from Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett in the second hour. He had some thoughts on what they did in the Arizona game and what kind of issues LSU may present. I'm going to get to LSU in 15 minutes and talk about kind of a reset after 2 weeks. Everybody in the SEC West has kind of done the same thing. They've played a team that's got a pulse and one that doesn't. Does it change how I feel about LSU at this point? We'll do that in 15 minutes. We're going to start with the New Orleans Saints here on this Tuesday. Dennis Allen met with reporters earlier yesterday and kind of went over the autopsy of the Saints' season-opening win against the Titans, and it started with some thoughts on the injury front from Sunday.
I think overall, pretty good. Ryan Conley probably going to miss some time with that same knee that he had injured earlier, and then it looks like Peyton Turner's probably going to have surgery on a turf toe injury, kind of similar to Trevor Penning's deal at the end of preseason last year. So, obviously we're still going through the evaluation process on those things, but I think that's probably the direction that we're headed.
That's just a bummer, man. It's a bummer for a couple of reasons. There are a couple of different layers to this Peyton Turner situation. One, it's another injury for Peyton Turner, who has played in 13 of 34 games through 2 years and then couldn't get through one in year 3. He just continues to miss time. And this is one of the things that when we would have Saints reporters on, we'd have Luke Johnson on, we'd have Sharif on, we'd have Kat Terrell on, we had a number of Saints guests on, and I would always say, the word we always hear with Peyton Turner is he popped here, he popped there, he flashed here, flashed there, but is there a chance that we're turning a corner here and this could be a solid contributor? And the thought was, maybe. Like there was genuine optimism there. And all of a sudden you look up and, well, you're going to miss him for a significant amount of time, which is a huge bummer for Peyton Turner and for the Saints. Now, Peyton Turner had not won a starting spot. Of course, Cam Jordan on one side, and Carl Granderson is your starting defensive end on the other side. And those two are solid. Do I think either one's going to be an All-Pro this year? I do not. Do I think they're solid NFL starters? I do. Do I think that Peyton Turner's upside at 23 trumps both of them at this point in their careers? Granderson, what his talent level is, and Cam Jordan as he inches towards his mid-30s? Well, yeah, I do think Peyton Turner's upside is greater than theirs. I think he's more athletic. I think he's younger. I think he can't stay on the field. So what does it mean for the edges of the Saints' defensive front? Well, Tano Passanio is next up for sure. That's a guy that the Saints have trusted in a depth role and that they'll continue to count on. Peyton Turner was the first up. Passanio second. Now Passanio will move up in line. But the question is what they do next. Because you have some options there. And one of them, theoretically, should be your second-round draft pick in Isaiah Foskey. You selected him early in the second round. It was part of your overhaul of your front seven, specifically the front four. Is that an option? Well, you had Dennis Allen speaking to that.
An opportunity's opened up for him. Obviously we have a couple of, options, also on the practice squad. And so we'll see, what we feel like is the best move for our team. But certainly, look, anytime somebody faces an injury and are going to be out for any significant amount of time, it opens a door for somebody else to take advantage of. And so, I think it's certainly an opportunity for him.
I don't believe that Isaiah Foskey is a real option. I don't right now. I could very easily be proven wrong on Monday. I don't believe it right now as I sit here on Tuesday afternoon. I don't believe it. Why don't I believe it? Well, here's why. I mentioned all those writers that we had on that were covering the Saints throughout camp. And there was essentially a unanimous chorus that Peyton Turner, while unproven, while not dependable because of what his past was, there could be a corner turned here. This could be a breakout year for him. I never heard anybody glow about Isaiah Foskey once. Work in progress, project, got work to do, raw. All these types of things are what we've been told. And quite frankly, when you take a second-round selection, early in the second round, I might add, and they're a healthy scratch in week 1, it is not good. And that adds to the feeling from those who cover the New Orleans Saints day to day that this kid is not ready. And it surprises me because when I turned on the film from Notre Dame, I said, oh, this is something here. All-time sack leader at Notre Dame, got some measurables, the production matches. This is not a workout warrior who wowed at the combine. This is a guy who on the field was great, and his measurables are good. This is a really nice pick. And he shows up in camp and cannot do anything. And that's not an indictment on your career in the NFL. Not even close. But it's probably an indictment on week 2. Right? If everybody watches camp in the preseason and says, I don't think he's ready, and then in week 1, the organization says, well, he's not ready. In week 2, that doesn't sound great to me. Now, Dennis Allen mentioned that there are options on the practice squad. Kyle Phillips and Nico Lalos are those two options at defensive end on the practice squad. Kyle Phillips played in 29 games for the New York Jets. Over those 29 games, 68 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 12 TFLs. He was a rotational piece that added depth for the Jets, but he's played over the course of 3 seasons. Lalos, XFL find, led the NFL in sacks in the preseason with 4. You remember the breakout preseason performance that he had in the second half? They wanted to keep him around. Now, there are rules with the practice squad, and you can only elevate 3 times. And because Turner is going to be out for some time, maybe this is one time where you are going to assign somebody from the practice squad and keep them on that active roster on game day. I feel like Kyle Phillips, to me, feels like a safer option than going with Isaiah Foskey, who I just haven't heard any positives about. If Isaiah Foskey was not this year's second-round pick and he was last year's sixth-round pick or an undrafted free agent, he wouldn't be on the team, best I can tell. And once again, I'm not writing off Foskey's black and gold career. I'm writing off Monday night. I'm writing off him as a significant contributor in the absence of Peyton Turner over the next 2 months. Because that would be on no one's radar, including the teams. So I don't see that as a realistic possibility. It, to me, seems like you got Granderson, you got Jordan, you got Passanio, and you go get Phillips off the practice squad, unless you want to dip into free agency and hire somebody that's 34 years old to come in there and see if there's any tread left on the tires, which they may kick the tires on some of those. We'll see. The other issue that comes all together is the end of that soundbite that Dennis Allen said that the injury is similar to Trevor Penning's. Oh, yeah? It's also similar to Deontay Hardy's, and it's similar to Michael Thomas's. That's 4 turf toes on that playing surface in 2 years. Is this something you need to look at? I'm not a turfologist, nor am I an orthopedic doctor. But it doesn't seem great to me that your left tackle and your explosive kick returner and your possession slot receiver and your defensive end all have the same injury on the same playing surface. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they ought to grow grass in the Superdome. That would present its problems, right? I'm not a botanist either. Agronomist, is that a better term? I'm none of those things. But I'm looking at 4 turf toes in 2 years going, well, you need to do something about that? Again, I don't know what to be done, but I can certainly raise the question, right? I don't have to be the solutions guy. I can be the problems guy. It's not good. And it's a real big bummer for Peyton Turner, who I think it was reasonable to think was kind of coming into his own. And you need that. As Cam Jordan ages, and Gray Anderson's a nice player. That's a hit for your defensive line. But I just don't think Isaiah Foskey's the answer. Maybe new turf's the answer, but I guess we'll have to wait on that. Saints will play against Carolina coming up on Monday night. Plenty more with Sharif Ishak coming up in hour number 2. When we come back, I was listening to Matt Moscone on After Further Review yesterday, and Matt said that he thinks LSU can win every game remaining on its schedule. And I would echo those sentiments, quite frankly. But the question is not, are they going to win the rest of them? It's, how do I feel about this team after 2 weeks? We've now seen a real game, a scrimmage, that's what I'm going to call Saturday, and you're entering conference play. Do I feel any different, and what do I think the outlook is for this LSU team? I'll tell you all of that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
The NFL season is here. Now's the time to get incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us. We'll turn the page, start previewing LSU, Mississippi State. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West of Go 24/7 going to be with us in 15 minutes, his normal Tuesday spot. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. As I teased coming into the segment, Matt yesterday said that he thought that LSU could win every game on their schedule, and I think he means more so speaking individually than the rest of the games in totality. Like, they can win every game. There's not any game that you would have to Sharpie an L next to. And I would agree with that. And honestly, there are only a few of those that you can remember looking back over the years. I would have put an L next to Bama a few years. That's reasonable. And honestly, I probably would have put a Sharpie L next to Florida in 2020 when we showed up there in Gainesville. I mean, I was at that game, and it was the shoe game. You all remember it. So, Sharpies don't always take. And I would agree with that. I also don't think they're going to win all of them in totality. But I do believe they can win each one individually. I never gave you a season pick for LSU. I never went through the schedule and gave you a win and a loss and came up with a season prediction. I just didn't do that. And so I want to kind of reset now before you get into conference play, because this thing is a long season and we feel differently as things go. But I just wanted to reset after one loss and one scrimmage and kind of give you my thoughts on where I think things are headed now. I don't believe anything that I tell you in this segment is going to be alarming or eye-opening in any sense. I just want to tell you kind of what I'm feeling. I feel good about LSU offensively, even though things didn't go great in the second half against Florida State. And I know that there is a pretty sizable discussion on the identity of the offense and the quarterback play at this point. And I'm not really here to get too deep into those weeds today. But I will tell you, this is what I believe. I believe that Jaden Daniels is still going to have some Saturdays where this offense is just cooking. That's coming. It didn't necessarily happen against Florida State, and that's okay. It didn't happen against Florida State last year. But if you'll remember, there was a 2-week stretch where LSU beat Florida in Gainesville and then came home and beat Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium. And LSU was essentially unstoppable in those two games. Now, I'm not suggesting Florida and Ole Miss were the greatest two teams that ever played, but I don't think the SEC West is full of the greatest teams who've ever played this year. Against Florida last year in the Swamp, Jaden Daniels became the first player in LSU history to run for 3 touchdowns and throw for 3 touchdowns in a game. It was decided in regulation. Joe did it in College Station in the overtime game. But it was a clinic. It was 6 straight touchdown drives. And then they showed up against Ole Miss at Tiger Stadium, an unbeaten Ole Miss team that got out in front of them by 3 scores. And he put up a 5-touchdown performance. LSU scored 45 points. He was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week. He ran for 3, passed for 2 touchdowns. Like, that's still in there. You can tell me that Garrett Nussmeier is significantly better than Jaden Daniels, and I'll let you have that opinion, and you could say that he's a better quarterback for the team, and that's all. That's your opinion. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't change the fact that Jaden Daniels played in this conference last year and did this a few times. Now, yes, I watched the Arkansas game. I watched the A&M game last year. I saw the game against Florida State. I saw the first half against Mississippi State. I'm not telling you that this LSU offense is a juggernaut. I think it's very good, and I think there are going to be some Saturdays. Maybe it's against Auburn. Maybe it's Arkansas. Maybe it's Saturday against Mississippi State, where LSU is cooking on offense with Jaden Daniels. They've got the run-pass option going. They've got teams on their heels. They're able to move the football on the ground. They're able to hit some big plays through the air. You get Malik Neighbors one-on-one, Brian Thomas jump balls. You got Chris Hilton there, and you get Logan Diggs incorporated, maybe Caleb Jackson. So, I think this is going to be a good offense, and I think there are still games ahead where LSU's offense goes nuts. The defense, I do have my concerns about, and I'll be honest, they're probably more prevalent than they were in August. That was an eye-opening day in Orlando, and I'm concerned about it. Now, I look at the quarterbacks in the SEC West, and I see Peyton Thorne, I see Milroe, and those don't terrify me over in Alabama. Dart was pretty good against Tulane, but do I think he's the ticket? No. KJ Jefferson's good. I think Connor Wigman's good. Will Rodgers is going to set every record in the SEC, although what we saw last weekend, it's not Tua and Bryce Young and A.J. McCarron, not Cam Newton, not Johnny Manziel. But I'm still a little bit concerned with that defense. They need to be good against the run. They need to get Mason Smith in game shape. They need Harold Perkins to become a game wrecker again. And they need the secondary to grow up. Whether it's Zy Alexander getting used to the speed of this game, Denver Harris figuring out coverages, Ashton Stamps growing up before your very eyes, those safeties playing a little bit better, it's still a concern. But when I looked at this team before the season, I never said this on the air, so I can't. Usually everything I feel is on the air, and you can just go check the tape. This is not on tape because I never did it. I never gave a win and loss record, but I thought 9-3 felt right. And we sit here and we have a second half blowout by Florida State and a game that we knew they were going to win against Grambling, and now we've got a little bit more information on the teams that LSU will play. So the question is, does my feeling change on where this team sits today? And I gave it some real thought this morning. I assessed all the games, where they're played, where on the calendar they're played. And I'm not going to go through and give win-loss, 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 but I still feel like it's 9-3. And depending on who you talk to, you'll get a different reaction on if that's acceptable, solid, or grossly disappointing. That's for you to determine what your expectations were for the season. I would probably tell you that it's a little disappointing to go 9-3. Brian Kelly, who tells you that the roster wasn't ready to compete with Georgia as of July, may feel differently about going 9-3. And the other caveat to this is because I always get asked, well, what if they do this or what if they do that before the season? And my answer is, well, what does it look like? You lose a couple of overtime games and another one by a score late that you turn it over 4 times via the fumble in. That's different than getting absolutely scorched by A&M and Bama. So what it looks like, there's always context to these things. But to me, it feels like 9-3. It feels like LSU is going to be in some really tight games. And those can go either way. In 9-3 and 8-4, conversely 10-2 and 9-3, they just feel so different. When in reality, they're not that different. It's razor's edge in this sport. And as I've kind of grown into this role of talking to you for 2 hours every day, I'm kind of learning how I react professionally to LSU week to week during a football season. I knew what I would feel like during a basketball season or a baseball season, because you can have off days or catch bad breaks and have games go a different way in those sports. In football, they go a different way, especially when there's expectation on you. All of a sudden, it feels a lot different. When in reality, you look at what it is, and it's not that different. but it feels like 9-3 to me. So we'll put a Citizens Bank and Trust poll up. If LSU were to go 9-3 this season, would it be and then we'll do a disappointment about where they should be, or a good season? We'll give you those three options. I feel like a lot of people are going to be hard-pressed to push back on 10-2, and I feel like it'd be really difficult to talk 8-4 into a real step forward. 9-3 feels like that median mark. I'm just curious what you, the fan base, decides they think about that. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat right now on YouTube, tell me what you'd think if they went 9-3. We're just playing what-ifs here. I think this is a good spot in the week to do it on a Tuesday. Come Wednesday, Thursday, certainly Friday, we're getting into matchups. Mississippi State, what's their offensive line look like? What's the tight end game look like? They got a couple pretty good linebackers. What is Will Rodgers doing in this offense? What's LSU doing at right tackle? Who's going to be the lead running back? Like, we'll get into like matchups and stuff, but I think Tuesday probably a pretty good day to step back and maybe take a 30,000-foot view at this thing as far back as you can zoom in season. I know these things are better done in July and September, July and August, but I think 9-3 is kind of that tipping point, and that's kind of where I think they're headed. I think they've got issues on the defense that are going to be hard to fix, and I think that you're just going to play a lot of really close games. Hopefully they go LSU's way this year. You were able to come from behind and beat Mississippi State last year, come from behind and beat Auburn last year, come from behind and beat Ole Miss last year. You were able to beat Alabama in overtime last year. You won some of those really 50-50 games and turned them into not so 50-50. You run away from Ole Miss. But I think 9-3 is kind of that tipping point. Curious what y'all think about that. We'll certainly ask Glenn West what he thinks about that. But first, let's tell you about Dave Chappelle. Comedian Dave Chappelle live at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans this Friday, September the 15th. Tickets are on sale at Ticketmaster, but 104.5 ESPN is giving you a chance to see Dave Chappelle for free. If you're interested, go to 1045ESPN.com and register for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the show. Glenn West going to be with us when we come back. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Got a new champion of Louisiana for you. You probably know them. Marucci Sports. Marucci was founded in a backyard shed here in Baton Rouge. Began handcrafting bats for some of the best players in baseball in 2004. From those humble beginnings, Marucci Sports has evolved into an industry trailblazer and a beacon of Louisiana's entrepreneurial spirit. Through pioneering initiatives such as the Baseball Performance Lab, Marucci's expanded their workforce by 137%, helping to attract and keep top talent right here in Louisiana. Meanwhile, they've given an economic boom to the state as well. The Marucci World Series serves as a tourism juggernaut. Thousands of youth athletes, families, and coaches come to the greater Baton Rouge area every single July for that Marucci World Series. Marucci Sport is a champion of Louisiana. If you want to learn more about them, go to lwcc.com/champions and click on Marucci, who we'll be telling you about for the foreseeable future here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Wednesday's OTB. Let's preview week 3 of CFB. It's not much. And week 2 of the NFL. Plus, the glorious return of Flestering 2 weeks in a row. Tune in, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glad you're hanging out with us. Glad to be hanging out with Glenn West. He's the senior writer at Go 24/7. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, thanks for being on with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
Doing quite well. Did you watch more of LSU Grambling or Alabama Texas in the press box?
Well, I had to watch LSU Grambling. So I mean, if you're covering the game, you kind of have to be there and watch all 4 quarters. So it was nice to get a little bit of a break every once in a while to kind of check in on Alabama. But it was primarily LSU Grambling.
Did you learn anything watching LSU Grambling?
I don't think so. I think what you have to do in these kinds of games is take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, look, it's very hard for an offense to go 10 touchdowns in 10 drives. I think that doesn't really need to be said. I mean, that no matter who you're playing at this kind of level, it's hard to do that with that kind of efficiency. So with that being said, I do think that it's the kind of performance you were hoping to see from this offense after a pretty lackadaisical second half against Florida State. Was very concerned in the first quarter and a half with the defense and especially against the run. They just seemed to be kind of out of position on a lot of those 3rd and longs. And part of that was by design, which Coach Kelly went into a little bit after the game. But, they were able to get it fixed and obviously hold Grambling down, the last 7 or 8 drives of the game and not really allow them to get going after that. But it certainly is going to be a question mark, I think, heading into this game in particular about just kind of how much improvement can be made on the defensive side of the ball, particularly against the run.
What do you make of the entirety of the Denver Harris era here in Baton Rouge thus far?
It's been a roller coaster for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the media and certainly myself didn't expect to see him much early in the season. But it sounds like he's turned a corner, or at least started to turn a corner. Brian Kelly has said a lot of positive things about Denver in the last couple weeks and kind of leading up to that opportunity that he had against Grambling. I don't know exactly what to make of kind of his start here. I mean, it's been very up and down. He had I think he had some nice moments against Grambling. He had obviously the one touchdown that was caught with him in coverage. It was honestly a really good catch because he was in pretty good coverage. But I mean, I think he will continue to be a part of the rotation, it sounds like, this week. And I'll be interested to see if he kind of really takes over that job or if it's more of a Deuce Chestnut / Denver Harris / Sage Ryan opposite Zy Alexander. I honestly don't know what to expect this weekend in terms of the secondary. But they're going to have a great challenge, I think, with Will Rodgers and a guy who's, obviously a veteran quarterback and has been around for a long time.
How'd Mason Smith look to you?
Yeah, rusty. I mean, I think you kind of got to go with the coach's word there. I mean, he was, competitive and certainly looked like he was giving great effort, but I just think it's going to take some time to get his game day legs back. And, I think it'll be interesting to see how many more reps he gets. I mean, I think he was around 35, 36 snaps against Grambling. We'll see if it goes up into the 40s against Mississippi State. But I also want to see them move him around. I mean, Brian Kelly talked about it some last week, but if they can get him some snaps at D end and certainly in D tackle next to Mekhi Wingo, I think he has a chance to be a really versatile piece for this defense. But it's really just going to be about getting his legs back and making sure that he's really comfortable with the snaps that he's getting.
Can't tell much with Lance Hurd playing against Scrambling, but just your gut instinct on who starts at right tackle on the road against Mississippi State on Saturday.
I think they probably stick with Emory Jones at right tackle with the Miles Frazier at right guard. I mean, Brian Kelly said it yesterday. That's kind of what they're planning to do, but it does sound like they're going to continue to use the Lance Hurd kind of in that every other series kind of role. And if he starts playing extremely well, maybe you just stick with it for the rest of the game. I think that is certainly going to be on the table for LSU. I thought he looked fine. He looked pretty good. He didn't really miss any blocks. And like you said, it was against Grambling. But the bigger takeaway that I had was that LSU seemed very comfortable running to the right side with him and Emory Jones in that game. I thought Logan Diggs really broke off a couple of his big long runs on the right-hand side. And I thought Lance Hurd, kind of in the elements there of his debut, really held his own and did a nice job. So I'll be interested to see how he progresses this week.
I know that you don't know, but your guess as to what the running back rotation looks like on Saturday, and then I'm going to ask you what it looks like in a month and a half, but start with Saturday.
Yeah, so I think Logan Diggs will probably get a good bit of work. I would imagine that Caleb Jackson gets some snaps. I would imagine that Josh Williams and Noah Cain get some snaps. I don't know what to expect out of John Emery. I know he's going to be back, but maybe they get him in for a few snaps in the passing game. But I think LSU really, I think this is going to be a big week for Logan Diggs and kind of the running back room as a whole. I think if Logan Diggs has a really nice day on Saturday, he could really establish himself as the feature guy in that room. And I think that's kind of what LSU's been missing the last couple of years. They've really worked a lot of different guys trying to find, the hot hand, if you will, on a game-to-game basis. But if they can have a guy that they really can count on week in, week out to be kind of an explosive runner for them, that's obviously the optimal situation to be in.
What do you think that running back rotation looks like against Texas A&M after Thanksgiving?
Well, if they all stay healthy,
yeah, they'll take health for granted.
Yeah, you got to make sure they're all healthy. But I still think it's going to be Diggs. I mean, I really don't have a lot to complain about in terms of his performance last weekend. I know it was against Grambling, but he looked pretty explosive back there. And I think, like I said, this is going to be a big test for him and for this offensive line, for this offense as a whole, to really get the run game going and see if he can't be a pretty big fixture in that. But I also think that Caleb Jackson showed you a lot of great things in the second half as well. And I'll be very interested to see if his opportunities continue to increase over the next couple of weeks, if he can't carve out more of a role. I think there are a lot of options still on the table. Brian Kelly seemed to think so yesterday when we were talking with him. So I'm not going to rule anything out, but if I had to guess, I would say probably Logan Diggs is your go-to guy by the end of the season.
Chatting with Glenn West, Go 24/7. He's our senior writer over there for all your team and recruiting coverage. How'd Nuss look? It's the question that's got to be asked, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had, 7 or 8 passes?
6 throws,
game.
I think?
Yeah, 6. Yeah, I mean, they obviously really relied on the run. I think in the second half they were trying not to run the score up too much, which is very understandable. But yeah, I thought he looked good. I mean, he made really good throws. I think he was 4 or 5 of 6 from passing. Drove, right down the field on 3 different drives. I mean, they had pretty good positioning to start on the field on, I think, a couple of those drives at least to start. And so they were able to convert and punch it in. But I think a lot of the kind of the talk after the game was why they didn't let him pass more. And you certainly would like to see him get some more opportunities to throw, I think, going forward. But there's no doubt that I think this offense can run really, really well with Nussmeier back there. It's good to get him some experience with some of those younger guys that he's going to be throwing to in the future. But yeah, I think he did a really nice job. And I think a couple of the incompletions that he had were just plain drops. Shelton Sampson had a rough day in his debut. So, I mean, they were all in the money, and I thought Nuss played well.
All right, let's move to Mississippi State. Your thoughts on the Bulldogs under Coach Arnett for the first time?
Yeah, it's a very different look, of course. Obviously, with the tragic passing of Mike Leach, it's a very different-looking offense. They've really relied on the run game. I mean, Jaquavius Marks is leading the SEC in rushing yards through 2 games. So my eyes are going to be glued to the run game, I think, at least to start this game. He's an explosive guy, and he's one of the better backs, I think, in the conference. And he has a chance to really break a game open if LSU's front 7 isn't prepared. So that's going to be something I'm going to be looking out for. Will Rodgers is still a very accurate veteran, 4-year starter kind of quarterback that I think he'll take some chances, and he'll certainly test this secondary as well. But it's going to be a big challenge, I think, for the secondary and for this defense as a whole to really make some market improvements. This is a team that's probably kind of in the middle of what LSU has seen so far. They're not on the Florida State level. They're not on the Grambling level. They're somewhere kind of in the middle there. And LSU's going to need, I think, to have a really strong performance here to really feel good about themselves kind of going into conference play. So it's going to be a very important weekend, I think, defensively and offensively. I think if you can get the run game going a little bit, get Jaden to take a couple chances downfield, be a little bit more aggressive, while also continuing to lean on what he does well, I think it could be a good outcome for LSU.
Who do you think's going to win the SEC West?
Oh man, yeah, I mean, if you had to put me on the spot right now, I would probably say LSU.
Okay.
I think LSU has a chance to win most of their games the rest of the way out. But it's as wide open as it's ever been. It wouldn't be surprising if a team like Ole Miss made a great run, or Auburn, or anybody can really make a run, I think, this year. This is a pretty wide open West, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Glenn, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
He is Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, part of the 24/7 network. He and Sonny Ship do an awesome job recruiting coverage and team coverage as well, so check them out. As you can check them out every single Tuesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to remind you that 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura of Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation is going to be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. We are rolling right along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you're looking for something to do tonight, come on out to Pluckers. Nicholson location, 8:30. Team trivia. Bring a team out there. Play sports trivia, 5 rounds, 5 questions in each round. You can win Pluckers gift cards, drink delicious cold beers, eat some awesome wings, and watch me agonize over the Cubs and Rockies, which I did last night on my couch until almost 11 p.m. But the Cubs won, so that's good. We're going to do it again tonight, only we'll be at Pluckers. So grab a team, coming out to the Pluckers on Nicholson. We'll be playing sports trivia like we do each and every Tuesday night. Come back with us to close out hour number 1. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day
barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Charles Hanniger joined me and Jimmy out for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Scott Rabelais, Randy McKay, and Wes Reynolds all with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If y'all will allow me here for the last 7 minutes of this segment to make the most absurd comparison you may have ever heard on this radio station, I'm going to do it. Because it's what I thought of last night when I was watching TV. So last night, I've got the Cubs on my laptop, and I've got Monday Night Football on my TV. And we know what happens. Rodgers comes out. There's more expectation on this Jets team than there has been in decades, looking to win the Super Bowl. And 4 plays in, his Achilles pops. And what went through my mind? This is pitiful. This is where you know a sick mind lives. I was thinking about 7 months ago when I bolted out of this chair, hopped in the car, booked it down Nicholson, and got into the box for first pitch, which got moved up to the afternoon. And Tommy White dove into first base and came up, and his arm was dangling down by his side. I know, it's ridiculous. LSU's got, at that point, 6 national championships. There's still a ton of guys out on that roster that are very, very good players. And he came back and played. Aaron Rodgers is not. But that's what my disgusting, demented mind went from the most popular sport in the country, Monday Night Football, biggest media market in the world, September 11th, New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes down. Hunt thinks of LSU baseball. Just ridiculous comparison, I know. And thankfully, Tommy was okay, and they got his shoulder taken care of, and he was back hitting in 2 weeks. Aaron Rodgers is going to miss the entire season. What I had to notice last night, and I consume a lot of internet stuff. I know there are a lot of people that listen that do. Those of you in the Bayou Ford chat, certainly with us on YouTube every day. A lot of you just listen on radio, but some of you are podcast listeners, and you've got your other podcasts and other media outlets you consume, and everybody kind of does things a little bit differently. But I do consume a lot of internet stuff. And on the Barstool side, they have what they call the gambling cave or the electric chair, depending on what time it is, and they watch big games and stream fans of those teams watching. And I'm watching these Jet fans watch this game. And they're just utterly dejected when it happens. I'm paying attention to Twitter, and Mike Greenberg, who we know is a huge Jets fan, has Damian Woody, who played for the Jets, over, and they've got Jets fans in attendance, and they're having a watch party, and they're just dejected. And then the Jets win. Crazy game. Defense plays outrageous. They get the game to overtime. They run the kickback. It's the Hard Knocks guy that runs the kickback. Unbelievable story. All the Jets fans go nuts. They're so pumped up. They're so excited. They're 1-0. And I'm sitting there because I have no dog in the fight whatsoever in the Jets-Bills game. I mean, I guess I'm pulling for the Jets because if the Bengals are trying to get home field or whatever and they might be competing with the Bills, then I'd rather. But I can't really get that far in the middle of September. But I'm thinking, like, they're all going nuts and celebrating this win. Their season is over. The season is over. Did you watch Zach Wilson play last night? It's atrocious. Interceptions right down the middle of the field. Sacks, indecision, getting crushed running, not moving the football. It was awful. It's the same guy we saw last year. Their defense is phenomenal. Their wide receiver core Garrett Wilson's a star. Breece Hall looks fantastic. He's on the fantasy squad. Love the guy. They can't win with Zach Wilson, not in a division that has that Buffalo roster with Josh Allen, who needs to stop turning the ball over, by the way. That Miami offense with Tua throwing it the way he did, and Tyreek Hill's unguardable. And the Patriots, who actually played decent against Philly this weekend. The Jets aren't getting through that. It's over. Yeah, it was a really fun kick to run back. It's over. You can't win with that guy. And the Saints fans that are listening, you know you played with no quarterback last year. You can't win. You started with an uber-talented guy in Jameis Winston that turns the ball over too much, which he did. Then he got hurt, and you went to a guy that's on the back end of his career that can't really stretch the field and is just a check-down guy and a game manager. You couldn't win with him either. Zach Wilson won't do it. So I couldn't help but think that, like, the emotions that Jets fans went through from the high of Aaron Rodgers taking that American flag out of the tunnel for the Jets on national TV with a chance they think to be the best team in the league. And then to see him get hurt and you just crash like that. And then you see the team run the punt back and win the game against Buffalo, a division game. And you're highest of high, and they're all, Greenberg's going nuts, and Woody's going nuts, and they're excited, and all the Barstool guys that I'm watching on the internet are all excited, and I'm going, guys, you're done. It's over. Cool story last night, Hard Knocks guy, but forget it. It's gone. Crazy night in the NFL, and it's just really a bummer. I feel for Jets fans, man. Having a team that never wins and feeling like you've really got a shot. I can only go through that with the Cubs from, I guess now it'd be 8 years ago. And that team got all the way to the NLCS and got swept, but it's a really great feeling to start the season and feel like you really got something before you've ever won anything. And to have that ripped from you not even halfway through September, not even a drive into your first game, that's just stinks. But it is what it is. If you missed any of hour number one, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or on YouTube. Open things up. I'm talking about Peyton Turner's injury, what it means for the Saints, and what's going on with Turf Toe in New Orleans. You can catch that on the YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints for all your Saints football talk. I gave my thoughts on where LSU is headed this year. We got a Citizens Bank and Trust poll up. Is 9-3 okay? Kind of feels that way. Then we had Glenn West on at 1:30. We'll break for SportsCenter. We'll hear from Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett. Some Brian Kelly sound as well. Sharif Ishak with us at the bottom of hour 2. Come back after SportsCenter. Hunt Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers' first season with the Jets is over after just 4 snaps. An MRI confirmed that Rodgers tore his Achilles in the overtime win against the Bills on Monday Night Football. Jets will likely sign a QB, but their plan is to move forward with Zach Wilson as the starter. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
I don't think it's fair to dismiss the prospects of this team potentially being able to figure something out, being able to forge an identity around their third-year quarterback, Zach Wilson. And maybe it's not the quarterback being a difference maker, more of a game manager. Depending on how this thing goes and depending on how they do, they could be playing for something more important other than moral victories.
Following the Rodgers injury, Caesars moved the Jets' Super Bowl odds from 16-1 to 50-1. According to a racial discrimination lawsuit against the NFL filed by longtime reporter Jim Trotter, Bills owner Terry Pegula allegedly made a racist comment about black players in the league in 2020 to another reporter. Pegula has denied making the comment, said in a statement, racism has no place in our society, and he's disgusted his name is associated with the complaint.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Rolling right along. Hope your work week off to a good start. Got one more hour with you here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I took a good look at Mississippi State and Arizona this morning, so I'm going to start the hour with that. Sharif Ishak going to be with us coming up in 30 minutes talking about the Saints. What do they do? The loss of Peyton Turner. How does he think the black and gold fared in their opener, and what's he looking forward to in Charlotte on Monday night? But let's start with Mississippi State here. As you know, that Mississippi State beat Arizona in overtime in Davis-Wade Stadium on Saturday. That game was played largely while LSU was playing. If you were at the LSU game or locked into the LSU game, you may not have seen much of this game or any of this game. You may have seen all the highlights. You may have seen none. I saw the highlights, and I checked out the box score preparing for yesterday's show, but I went back and watched things a little bit more closely last night and into this morning. This game cracked me up a little bit, and I'll get into it, and we'll hear from Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett and some of the things he had to say yesterday. By the way, just as an aside, we have the rest of this show. We have Wednesday show, Thursday show, Friday show. Then I have a pregame and postgame Saturday, and then we have Sunday show where we'll be talking about Mississippi State. So that's 6 more shows I have to do. Every single time I say Zach Arnett's name, every time, I pause internally, and my brain goes, is it Will Arnett or Zach Arnett? I'm on the actor, comedian guy, and the Mississippi State football coach, and it's never going to click for me. So I have to constantly think about it. I usually get to the correct one, which in this case is Zach, but I can't. I'm just awful with it. So just bear with me. You'll probably hear me say Will Arnett at some point, but it is Zach, and we'll hear from him here shortly. Mississippi State was up 14-0 in this game against Arizona, and it could have been 21-0. Mississippi State fumbled on the 3-yard line going into the end zone, and it rolled out of the end zone for a touchback. So they really gave Arizona life in this game. I think they could have run and hid. They didn't. And when that happened, Arizona kind of got some traction and got back into the game. But the quarterback, Jaden DeLaura from Arizona, continued to turn the ball over. He threw 3 picks in the first half. He also had a fumble. He was turning it over left and right. It was not a very good effort. But before the half, one of the most humorous sequence of plays I've seen this year took place. Mississippi State was up 14-0, and Arizona had the ball inside a minute to go. Well inside a minute to go. And DeLaura, the Arizona quarterback, took a snap around midfield, and he literally looked like in like 6th grade when you have the ball toss at field day and you see how far you can throw the ball. That's what he looked like throwing this football down the field. He double crow hopped and just heaved it literally as far as he could throw it right before the half. And Arizona slides under it at the 2-yard line for a catch. And there's like 13 seconds left in the half. So Arizona lines up to spike the ball. And I'm pretty sure everybody on Arizona's team except Jaden DeLaura thought they were spiking the ball, except he decided to do a fake spike. He fake spiked it and like dove into the back of his lineman's legs, who had just stood up for the spike. And Mississippi State like tried to wrestle him around the goal line. Then Arizona's offensive lineman came to and like, oh, he's trying to sneak it. So they started trying to push him into the end zone while Mississippi State's guys are pushing back. And they actually ripped the ball free from DeLaura with like 2 seconds to go in the half. They went under, reviewed it. They said it's a touchdown. He did get in on the fake spike sneak, and it was humorous. It was a touchdown, 14-7 Mississippi State. The teams traded touchdowns in the third quarter. It was 24-14 Mississippi State going into the fourth. State got another interception, leading 24-21. That one was off a deflection, and that was with under 5 minutes to play. At 24-21 Mississippi State, Arizona catches an over route and should have scored a touchdown. He's running down the sideline, and he lets a Mississippi State guy who's well behind him and is not going to make the play kind of force him to just toe tap out of bounds. If he doesn't toe tap out of bounds there, he's going to score. So Arizona should have scored a touchdown late to take the lead. Instead, they settle for the field goal. They go into overtime. State throws a screen pass for a touchdown. And then Arizona has 4th and 10 in overtime. They've got to score a touchdown. DeLaura runs like 100 miles around the field and then ends up trying to run for the first down and gets 9 3/4 yards, and Arizona loses by 1.5 feet. So that was what we saw in the game, and Mississippi State wins at 31-24. DeLaura threw 4 interceptions and fumbled, and still Arizona was right in the mix. Now, Mississippi State, to their credit, did fumble going in from the 2-yard line as well, so they missed an opportunity there. But that's what basically happened in this game. The interesting thing to me was that yesterday, Zach Arnett, had to think about it there too, Zach Arnett talked about the preparation for LSU, who he prepared for last year, and Jaden Daniels was the quarterback, and talked about it in terms of playing Jaden DeLaura and this offense that he saw on Saturday, where, yeah, DeLaura is a pretty good athlete. I wouldn't even go as far as to say diet Jaden Daniels. He's significantly less able than Jaden Daniels, but he does want to run, and he can beat you with his feet and his legs. And so this is a long bite, longer than we normally play, but I'm headed somewhere with it. So listen to Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett talk about defending Jaden DeLaura, the dual-threat quarterback at Arizona, and what it means for LSU.
Last week's game versus Arizona felt very much like last year's game versus LSU. I mean, it's modern football, right? That an accomplished passer who also can hurt you just as much with his legs is not fun to defend. Right? And so you have to constantly shift the stress around on defense, right? Sometimes that forces you to shift some stress to your back end. Sometimes that forces you to shift the stress up to your front, right? And you're hoping you can manage that throughout the course of a game. I can give you a long dissertation right now about, all the different ways that you can try. You got to keep the quarterback in the pocket, obviously, right? You got to keep the quarterback in the pocket, but yet you still have to generate a pass rush, right? So what is that? There's that fine line between how do you cut guys loose and let them go try to win their one-on-ones, but not let seams emerge within pass rush lanes and scramble lanes.
And that's him talking about dealing with Jaden DeLaura, who's not as agile as Jaden Daniels. And this part is the second part of this answer, where he gets into what he teaches his defenses when dealing with a dual-threat quarterback. And to me, it's fascinating as a guy who doesn't spend hours grinding film and coming up with game plans. Sometimes I like to hear coaches talk X and O's a little bit, and he did get into all the different things and options that you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with a quarterback that can beat you with his legs. And we know there really is not any quarterback in the Southeastern Conference as capable of winning with his legs as Jaden Daniels is. So every time LSU, well, Jalen Milroe is. I shouldn't say that. Milroe is every bit as good as Daniels running the football. Those two separate themselves among the rest. KJ Jefferson's a fine runner. He's not nearly as fast as these guys and is capable of hitting the huge play as Milroe and Daniels are. But those are probably the three guys that you would look at. And you realize that when every single defensive coordinator and head coach sits down and gets ready to play against LSU, they have to start thinking about all of this.
And then, obviously, do you want zone eyes behind it? Will you play a little bit more zone coverage so that way you have guys who can come out of coverage and rally to the quarterback and prevent the big, long scrambles? Well, that means you're not as playing tight of coverage, and a good quarterback exposes that. So then you can get into the pattern match, man match coverages, or just straight man-to-man. And, well, now you're playing tighter to routes, and so you can deny more throws, but that means you're chasing guys man-to-man, and if the quarterback breaks the pocket and scrambles, you have nobody. So the scrambles hurt you more in those coverages. You can rush three and have a fourth guy. You pull him out of the rush, but he's really a spy, right? So he can then account for that, and then you can still play your coverages. You don't get as much pass rush, right? And the reality is you have to do all of those. You have to do all of those. It's no different than I was just talking about. You got to be able to do all of them. Because
all I'm getting at here, and again, I'm not teaching you football here. That's very far from the intent. But you see all the advantages that LSU has when they break the huddle with Jaden Daniels at quarterback? He's saying, well, you can play zone and keep your eyes on the quarterback, but then you can't really cover as tight unless she's got some pretty good wide receivers out there. Then you can play man and cover tight. You can play man, but then nobody's looking at the quarterback. Well, then you can put somebody to look at the quarterback and spy, but you only rush three. Then you can't rush the passer. He's basically telling you, you can't really take everything away here. And all I took from that discussion that Zach Arnett had was, hey, man, I'm glad that my quarterback gives defensive coordinators some fits. And we go back to the second segment of the show today where I talked about what I thought LSU was going to be moving forward. And I think that there will be some pains on both sides of the ball. I don't think either side of LSU's team is a juggernaut. I think the offense is ahead of the defense. I think the offense gives LSU some significant advantages. I'm worried about some portions of the defense. But the fact of the matter is that there are still, I think, going to be a few games this year, hopefully ones this coming weekend, where Jaden Daniels puts a defensive coordinator in a pretzel. He did it against Florida last year. He did it against Ole Miss last year. He did it against Mississippi State last year. He did it against Auburn in the second half at times last year. Now, there's some times it's not great. I mentioned first half against Mississippi State last year, first half against Auburn last year, entire Arkansas game. A&M wasn't great. But I like the sound of that when I think about a defensive-minded coach getting ready for my team. I could do this, but could do this, but I could do this, but it's modern football, as he said it, and LSU is as equipped as anybody in the league to be that team. So let's hope that LSU has a lot of success on offense coming up on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win $500 in Rouse's gift cards. Our judges are going to select a winner on September the 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharif Ishak in 15 minutes. When we come back, we'll hear from Brian Kelly. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Tell me every day about Boudreaux's Electric. They are a certified Generac generator dealer. Not only that, they're a premier Generac generator dealer, which means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Every single Generac generator that Boudreaux's Electric sells and installs to your home, a free 10-year warranty. Not only that, if you find a Generac generator somewhere else more affordably than Boudreaux's Electric, they will match that price. Promise you. I don't think you're going to do that, but they will match that price. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have owned and operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They run it just the way they have the entire time. That small operation feel, but the high tech. They can monitor your generator. I tell you about that all the time. If it fails for whatever reason, before the storm, during a storm, after a storm, they'll know about it. They can send a tech out there to fix it. Boudreaux's Electric, same phone number they have had for the last 40 years. Get your phone out, put this number in, and get that generator installed in your home so that the power does not go out on you. It's 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street. The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us. We'll turn the page, start previewing LSU, Mississippi State. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sharif Ishak on the black and gold, 12 minutes from right now. LSU and Mississippi State, 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Brian Kelly met with the assembled media yesterday, and we went through a lot of the highlights, but as you remember, we don't have access to that sound at that point because it's just too fresh right from when the end of the press conference is to when we go on the air. So We have that sound from yesterday with Brian Kelly today, and we're going to play just a little bit of it here. Returning to Mississippi State's passing game as well as the LSU secondary. By now, you probably know that Mississippi State ran the ball a ton against Arizona. Will Rodgers only put it up 17 times in that game. Mississippi State ran it 39 times, so more than 2-to-1 ground-to-air ratio. That's something that they're trying to get to, but Rodgers was very efficient. He was 13 of 17. He threw for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns without a pick. So it was a solid effort from Rodgers, but they just did more on the ground with Woody Marks. Brian Kelly spoke to the change in Mississippi State's offense.
Quite a different change there. Going away from the air raid offense, going to a much more traditional offense. It is one that, certainly that many see in college football, but they've got some really good players. Will Rodgers is probably one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the SEC. 35 straight starts, so when you have that, it's a really good thing. He's got 11,000 career passing yards. Jaquavius Marks, an outstanding running back. So a great challenge for our football team.
And we know that LSU's secondary is a work in progress. That's pretty obvious. We saw that early and often against Florida State. It was certainly my fear. And, we weren't exactly floored with how LSU played in the first couple of drives against Grambling last Saturday. So you're going to look at a team that has what's going to be the SEC's all-time leading passer and some capable wide receivers. And the question is, can LSU cover them? And we'll get into that as we move forward throughout the week. But I thought it was interesting that Brian Kelly was asked, did you know that the secondary may have some issues?
Yes. We knew that we were playing new players back there, and the challenges were going to be in developing players with very little experience, but with talent. But talent is only one part of the equation. It's developing, the consistency and doing the little things that require playing at a high level, tackling, leveraging the football, being in the right leverage, whether it's inside leverage or outside leverage, raking through the basket, when the ball's in the air and getting it out, and which we've done, much better in week 2.
Yes and no. Yes and no to me on that answer. Maybe he did know that they were going to have some issues in the secondary. I get that because we all saw that when we went out to practice. You heard that from us. You read that in practice reports. You saw that on the that was very obvious. But I don't know that LSU's grossly inexperienced at corner and safety. Zy Alexander has played a lot of college football. Now, not at this level, and if you want to go a level further, okay. Deuce Chestnut started for 2 years at Syracuse. Major Burns, a third-year college player. Sage Ryan, third-year college player. Andre Sam, seventh-year college player. Greg Brooks, fifth-year college player. If you had LaTerrence Welsh and Ashton Stamps and Javian Toviano out there, well, I'd say, yeah, you're pretty inexperienced. But this group is not that inexperienced. They're inexperienced together, and that's a big deal. Talked to my guy BT pre- and post-game, Brandon Taylor, who played with a lot of really good players at LSU, but they were all together for a long time. Brandon was with Eric Reed for 2 years. He was with Tyrann Mathieu and Thorold Simon for 2 years. He was with Morris Claiborne for 3 years. He was with Thorold Simon for 2 years. That was a group that he was with Ron Brooks for 3 years. That was a nucleus with Ron Cooper at DB coach that just, they all kind of came up. And that's what we're used to at LSU. We're used to one guy to the next guy to the next guy. You can run that in your head. It's Patrick Peterson to Morris Claiborne to Tyrann Mathieu to Thorold Simon right there. You threw in Jalen Mills and Tre'Davious White, and you had Christian Fulton, and you had Derek Stingley, and that was just a natural progression, and they all came up kind of 1 year after the other. There was a 2-year gap between some of those guys, but that was just a natural progression. And you had Eric Reed hand things off to Jamal Adams. I mean, you just kind of knew where you were. And with the last 2 years having to dive into the transfer portal and go get a bunch of new guys, you do have a bunch of guys that have not played together, but I don't necessarily think that they're totally inexperienced. So the hope is that they progress, and Kelly spoke to the process this secondary is going to have to go through.
This is a process for us that we're making some strides. I think we're competing, for the ball. I think in some instances, it's really, you have to look at play after play where we're getting, some competitive breakups that we hadn't had in the past. And, we're getting guys that are getting seasoned. And that's really what this is about. This is a process for, some guys that haven't played a lot of college football. So we like the competitiveness. This is about leveraging the football. This is about being in the right technique. And it's, like I said, we like our guys, but this is going to be coaching and player development the entire season.
And that's fine because LSU developed their players pretty well last year. LSU's offensive line got better last year. LSU's quarterback play got better last year. LSU's linebacker play got better last year. They developed pretty well. Now, it crumbled there against A&M, but there was a gradual ascent. And you just hope that that's the case with this group. Zy Alexander gets used to this speed. Denver Harris is able to get out there and play a little bit more. Ashton Stamps does grow up and plays more. Sage Ryan stays healthy and improves. I think with Brooks and Burns and Sam, you kind of got what you got. And I don't think they're bad players at all. But hopefully there is a progression. But you don't have rental wins on the horizon. You're at Mississippi State, you got Arkansas, you're at Ole Miss, and you're at Missouri. Then you've got Auburn before Army and a bye, and then Bama. But you don't have usually there's two early, and there aren't this time around. Now maybe you run away from State or Arkansas or Ole Miss or Missouri. That would make my day if they crushed Auburn at home and got some guys some playing time or were able to try some things without the game being in the balance. But it's time to go. Like, you got to go play. And this was something that I brought up 2 weeks before the season started that I'll kind of hang my hat on today. We'll get into Mississippi State as we move forward, but your offense may have to bail you out. And I'm not suggesting you need to score more than 45. Like, you got to do better than you did against Florida State. But maybe it takes 35 points to go win in Starkville. Maybe it does. And if that's what it takes, then go score 35 points. You should be able to. Maybe you got to go to Oxford and get in a Kiffin match. Kind of back and forth. You've done that before. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the secondary comes together and that pass rush with Smith and Perkins used properly comes together and everything's great. But you might have to go win on offense. It's not against the rules. Not preferable, but not against the rules. And that might be what it takes. We'll see. LSU and Mississippi State, 11 a.m. on Saturday. We'll certainly get you ready for it throughout the week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll change gears, head back to the National Football League. Saints are 1-0. What's Sharif like? What did he not like? That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 3 decades in the business, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Maybe not an awesome time for you to move. You're locked into a great interest rate, refinanced a couple years ago. You love it. But you could use some touch-ups here and there. Well, we got you covered. David Duvall, One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. Check out the free consultation. He'll come in. He'll tell you what he can do. You could totally change the feel and look of your home without moving. Full-scale bathroom renovation or remodel, maybe just a tub-to-shower conversion. Take the tub out, just put a glass walk-in shower. They can do that at One Bath and Closets. Maybe you're not using your closet space effectively. It's a cluttered mess. David Vaughn and his team can handle that. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. There are testimonials there. There are pictures. There are great works there. And as I mentioned, that free consultation is right there. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. Wednesday's OTB. Let's preview week 3 of CFB. It's not much. And week 2 of the NFL. Plus, the glorious return of Flestering 2 weeks in a row. Tune in, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head down to NOLA. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, with us here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, how are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well.
Saints 1-0. Not the prettiest, but effective nonetheless, no?
You know, I think everybody thought it would be smash mouth football going into the game, and that's exactly what we got. A couple offenses really struggling, but 2 very solid defenses doing its part in that game to keep it a low-scoring contest. And, you know, hey, we thought that both teams were top 5, top 10 defenses, and that's exactly what we saw in the game.
Let's talk about the decision that both coaches made late. Mike Vrabel decided to kick a field goal and put his defense back on the field, cut that lead down to just 1. And the Saints, when they got the football 3rd and short, had an opportunity to potentially run it and punt, and decided to take a shot down the field. What did you think of those 2 decisions, one by Vrabel, one by the Saints staff?
I don't hate Vrabel's decision as much as many other people do, because you have a good defense and all the timeouts. You essentially had 4 timeouts with a 2-minute warning. Yep. And the way that defense was playing, you put them out there and you trust them to get you the ball back and set up for a possible game-winning field goal. I do not hate the decision by Mike Vrabel. Now, if this was last season, Dennis Allen, it would have been run, punt.
That's what I said.
Do I really love that decision? I mean, you just saw the video they posted on Twitter maybe an hour and a half ago, where Derek Carr was like, give me another shot. And he told Rashid, just run fast. Man, and I really loved it. I love that decision. Hey, man, scared money don't make money, you know? And he did exactly that, man. They ran that play. He was wide open. they must have seen something in that defense that would allow them to get Rashid Shaheed down the field. And, man, did he ever get behind that secondary. He throws that ball a little bit more inside it, and it might be a touchdown. However, I think it worked out well, because if they had had a touchdown, then they might have had a chance to come back down there and tie the game and maybe go for two and tie the game. But, I thought it worked out perfectly. I like that decision by Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael to throw it.
What did you make of David Carr's debut?
I thought he played much better than people thought. I thought he played very solid. If the offensive line plays, a little bit better, his numbers probably go closer to 400, and he has another touchdown. I still think that Rashid Shaheed sideline end zone was a touchdown. His knee was down. He had possession of the ball. You look at the snapshots. I mean, he made some really good throws. I thought he made two bad throws, the interception, and there was another one along the sideline near the 50-yard line, left sideline towards the Saints sideline, where the cornerback also cut it off, kind of like the interception. He made maybe two bad throws, and that was it. For the most part, I thought he played well. The offensive line didn't give him much help. He stepped up in the pocket when he had to, and the offensive line struggled. But I think if they played just a little bit better, he has much better numbers than that. But overall, good debut for Derek Carr, and I only expect him to get much better as the season goes on.
What did you think of the way that Ryan Tannehill played? And I would say, well, they're not going to play anybody as bad as Tannehill, but wait a second. I look at the schedule and they go, well, most of the quarterbacks are like Tannehill.
Well, he went to Texas A&M. You should know how that was going to go. He's not
Thanks for
good.
that.
He's just absolutely awful. He's an awful quarterback.
Yeah.
And the Saints made him look exactly like we thought he was. He was, that one to Paulson to Debo Hunt, you could have intercepted. Your son could have intercepted. He did not make good decisions. On top of that, though, the Saints made him make bad decisions because of the pressure up front. That was one of the question marks going into the season. How good would that defensive line be? They hit him 10 times in that game. Last season, they were bottom 5 in the NFL in quarterback hits. They put up 10 hits in that game and sacked him 3 times. I think a lot of that credit goes to the defensive line and the job they did to get to Ryan Tannehill and force some of those bad decisions.
Who'd you like specifically on the defensive front?
Carl Granderson. I really like what Carl Granderson did in that game a lot. I mean, should be no surprise now. He's really, for the last couple of years, has really improved his game and has really become a dominant force along that edge, man, for the Saints. And they're going to need him. They're going to need him a lot now that, Peyton Turner's out of the mix for a long time with a turf toe. But I like what he did. And I also like what Brian Brzee did. Brian Brzee, half a sack. I mean, and he also had another pressure, another hit. So that's a good welcoming sign for the rookie.
So we know that Peyton Turner goes out, and we know that Tana Passanio is now the number one reserve at defensive end. Does Isaiah Foskey factor in here? Do they dip to the practice squad, or do they need to go to free agency? Based on what I was told, I never saw one snap of training camp. Foskey's not ready. You saw it all. What do you think?
Not ready. Not ready is the correct term. He is not ready yet. I wouldn't be surprised if if they have him on the active roster this week, just because. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he's a healthy scratch and Tano and the rest of the guys get more run. He's just not ready. Everyone is right. He's not ready. I just think that he was progressing throughout the preseason, those preseason games. Just don't think he's ready. The only way you get him ready, obviously, is to play him and throw him in the active roster. Maybe down the line, or even this week, a Monday night game, you might give him a sniff or two and get him out there just so he can be ready. It's a second-round pick. You never want a healthy scratch for your second-round pick for so many games.
What about Trevor Penning? Concerns there? Or you okay with the way he played?
Well, you can't sugarcoat it. It was a bad game for him.
Yeah.
It was a bad game for the offensive line as a whole. Like Dennis Allen said it yesterday, it wasn't a great performance by the offensive line. Sunday, he said he wasn't concerned. It almost feels like he's going through the growing pains because he really didn't play that much last season. He played 6 games before he had the Lisfranc injury, and that knocked him out. So I'm not concerned yet. I just still think it's like kind of partial rookie season for him as he's trying to come back from like the injury, and he's not, fully there yet. That's a tough assignment to go against that defensive line. I understand it's Arden Key and it wasn't really Simmons pushing him and bullying him, but the first real test after all that, and it's a defensive line like that. Not easy, but not concerned yet. I do think they will probably game plan it a little bit better with Brian Burns against Panthers and get him a little bit of help. But I think he plays a little bit better as the season goes on. He has to. There's no other choices other than him playing better now. Anything
else that concerns you in game one?
I had no concerns outside of what I saw with the offensive line. I mean, They're just if the offensive line cannot block, they're not going to be able to run. They did not run the ball well. I mean, they had 69 rushing yards. Jamal Williams' biggest run was the final play of the game. It took you almost 60 minutes to have your longest run for 11 yards. Without that offensive line, they're not going to be able to run the ball the entire season. And I understand it helps, if they had Alvin Kamara. But man, look, the line's not. If they are not getting their push, and they're getting beat up the middle, there's no chance of them running the ball against anybody. And that's a little concerning. It's just the offensive line to me, just a bit concerning. I had no issues with the defense. They had maybe one or two plays that but you're not going to be perfect in a game. Derrick Henry caught him on that 46-yard screen, and maybe one other play by Tajay Spears. But, I mean, you can't really complain. You can't complain much from the defense. They maybe could have picked off Tannehill 2 more times. Marshawn Lattimore and Amadi had a ball hit right in their hands. It would have been 5 interceptions. But, they played a near-perfect game. But it'd be offensive line for me, number one.
All right, on to Carolina. What's the biggest thing for the Saints on Monday night?
Rookie quarterback making his debut.
Yeah.
It's just making his home debut is coming off that game. Everyone's like, oh, Saints should absolutely pummel them. And look, they may. It's one of those crazy, weird scenarios. Last season, we thought that the Saints would absolutely crush Baker Mayfield and going into Carolina, and that did not happen. It was the opposite. It was an absolutely horrible game in every facet. I mean, offense, defense, special teams, it was just miserable. It was garbage. It was bad to watch last season. Much different team. I do think they're going to be more prepared. I mean, you're getting Bryce Young. Look, man, you give him a little pressure. You let him float the ball in the middle. You saw Jesse Bates pick him off twice. You got to have that pretty good free safety who's just locked in on him and watching his eyes, because you get him to throw some of those balls down the middle like that, you have a chance to get a few more picks like you get against Tannehill. But you got to get to Bryce Young. That is the number one thing, is get to the rookie quarterback, rattle him early on, and just contain run game. I mean, they got Miles Sanders. They got some solid running backs. I mean, that's a team. I think that team is a solid team with a good defense. That's the thing about that team is their defense. No J.C. Horn has a hamstring injury, but their defense could possibly give the Saints some trouble up front. That's got to find a way. Like I said, the offensive line has to just find a way to give Carr in that running game a little bit of time, and they'll be just fine.
Nice to see the Saints get some turnovers over the weekend after a year where they were historically poor in that category. But the Saints get the win. They'll be in Carolina on Monday. You headed to the Queen City? That's Cincinnati. What's Carolina? I don't even know what Charlotte is. But are you headed there?
Yeah, we have the game on our air Monday night because we simulcast Monday night football games when the Saints have them. So yeah, it's the first of the doubleheader Monday night. So yep, Lance Moore and I are headed there Monday.
What's your Tuesday travel? Are we gonna be able to make 2:30 work?
I need to look at the time. I think I leave late enough to where I could do it from the airport. I think I leave like at 4:00, or I think I should be able to do it. Yeah, I think I should be good.
All right, sounds good. We'll catch up then. Enjoy the trip. Safe travels, and we'll talk next week.
All right, Hunt. Anytime.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU. Look, opportunity for the Saints to go on the road. I haven't looked as far into Carolina as I will later this week. I think the absolute inclination is to go, boom, rookie quarterback, Saints should win. But I do know that Carolina had a decent roster last year and won a decent amount of games last year, and then they went out and spent a bunch of money in free agency, and they have a new quarterback. So we'll see. I think that it's probably not as slam dunk as you would like to believe with a rookie quarterback, but I think the Saints are probably the better team, and man, would it be nice to start 2-0 in the NFL. Saints got one behind them with Tennessee on Sunday, back in action on Monday night against the Panthers. We'll take one more timeout, come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to provide patients in the region with access to cancer treatments that are among the best in the nation. We know that everyone's affected by cancer one way or another. Ochsner and MD Anderson partnering up to fight and fight and fight. Ochsner is going to be the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and treatment plans, and they'll have direct access to their specialists and researchers as well. Select clinical trials going to be available to eligible patients. And the best news, 7 locations going to be offering expert care across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge. Even better, more locations to come as Ochsner and MD Anderson work to certify those additional sites. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, go to ochsner.org. That again is ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Sandigrove joined me and Jimmy out for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Scott Rabelais, Randy McKay, and Wes Reynolds all with us. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Looking for something to do tonight? Plucker Sports Trivia, 8:30 Nicholson location. We will be there. Very much looking forward to it. Grab a team or just come by yourself. You can hang out and do it by yourself if you like. Or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Grab a team. I'll be there. 8:30. We'll crank up. Have you done by 10 o'clock. I'll be watching Cubs and Rockies and probably be inconsolable. But I'm looking forward to it. So come on out to Pluckers on Nicholson tonight for sports trivia. All right, take it or leave it, Jacob Beck.
All right, first one here. A Wisconsin bar offered free drinks if the Jets lost. Safe to say some people probably got a little too aggressive last night. Take it or leave it.
I'd probably take that. I mean, look, you're there pulling against Rodgers. If you're a Packers fan in Wisconsin, Jets lose, you get free drinks. He gets hurt. Bills are up 2 scores.
Free drinks.
Like, that's just hammering drinks. I mean, you're just getting them. You're getting shots. You're getting rounds. You're getting rounds for other people. Like, your tabs is going up. And then all of a sudden, Allen just can't stop throwing interceptions, and you've really got an issue on your hands. You've got the buzz going. You're probably pretty drunk, and now all of a sudden you're probably emotional because you're drunk and you think you've probably saved $200 and all of a sudden gonna need that credit card, sir. That's a tough scene in a Wisconsin bar. Maybe Jordan Love makes him feel better because he played great against the Bears. You can still laugh at Justin Fields and your southern neighbors in Chicago. But, yeah, I think that's the time to get real aggressive when Rodgers goes down and you got Zach Wilson out there and you just got busted.
Jerry Jones says he didn't talk to Mike McCarthy before trading for Trey Lance. Jerry added, Mike's busy. That's the beauty of things around here. I don't have to talk to the owner or coach or general manager. I just do it. That's Jerry Jones in a microcosm right there of him. Trey Lance will never start a game for Dallas. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, it doesn't feel like they're moving on from Dak anytime soon. They've got Cooper Rush, who they liked last year, started 6 games, I think, and went 5-1. So, I mean, Trey Lance is way down the depth chart here. It's hard for me to see him materializing. I realize I gave up a late-round pick for him, and it's probably no big deal. But Jerry having that bravado and that confidence to come out and tell the media that when they haven't won squat in 20 years is impressive. And so it's been more than 20. It's been almost 30 years since they won anything. That is depressing because I remember them winning stuff when I was a kid, and they don't win anything anymore. But, yeah, that's classic Jera. Yeah, I got it. I don't need to talk to anybody. Mike's going to coach, and I'll just do whatever I need up here. Don't consult anybody else, Jerry. Great. You got it all figured out, bud. Keep it rolling.
All right, next one. Pat McAfee on game day. Take it or leave it.
This is very polarizing. I hear a lot of folks say that they hate him, can't handle him, can't stand him. It's generally a demographic thing. If you're younger, you're kind of into it. If you're older, kind of set in your ways, you really don't. I'll take it. I like McAfee. I think he's fine. I'll take him for what he's worth. And I'll tell you this. He's not just wearing a tank top and yelling and screaming. Like, he does do his research. Yeah. He does prep. He does give statistics and facts and thoughts, and he just presents them in a different way. If you just want Fowler and Herb Street and sit there and white collar it back and forth, like, that's fine with me too. But, like, I'm okay with a little wrinkle there.
Yeah.
It works for me. I like that they bring Stanford Steve in to do some of his thoughts. I mean, Pollock's fine. I have nothing against Pollock. I don't really miss him. And, you know, Corso's just kind of can only do what he can do.
He reads off a sheet of paper.
Well, of course. And he's got his things written down. And then you get to the picks at the end, and he's going to say, not so fast, sweetheart, and great pick. And then he's, you know, that's just what he's going to be there to do. I think the show works just fine. I think Reese Davis hosts it very well. I love Herb Street. And I think McAfee adds a little bit of a different dimension that works. As long as he's not just there like Kornheiser went on Monday Night Football and tried to do, and like so did, what's Miller's, what? Dennis Miller,
yeah.
They were like trying to do like a stand-up routine on Monday Night. That just didn't work. McAfee's actually giving you some insight, I think. So I'll take it. I'm fine with it.
Last one here. Will Lutz missed an extra point and a field goal in his debut for the Broncos. They lost by 1 point. Lutz is a double agent for the Saints. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. I just don't think he's a very good kicker anymore. I think that's just the case. We've got 2 years of data here. I'm well aware of the injuries, but I'm also aware of last year, and I'm aware of what happened in week 1. And I think it's silly. I think a lot of people think it's silly, and it probably is, for me to draw comparisons to a golf swing and a kicker. But, like, there's something to the mental aspect up to it and to the mechanics of it. And when you're just in a groove and you're very repeatable, you're playing really good golf and you're kicking the ball well. And then when you're not and you're trying to figure out what you're doing here, focusing on this or that, and you're doing it just doesn't work.
Because we know that he can be one of the best kickers in the league.
And he's just not anymore. He was the worst kicker in the league last year, and that's just kind of what it looks like. Aside that I heard about Will Lutz, my wife is in a Facebook group with a lot of women who went to LSU who, it's like a lot, not like 10, like a lot of women over a course of like 6 or 7 years. And I believe Will Lutz's wife is one of these women, and she was in the group asking if anybody had a couch they could buy. And my wife thought it was humorous that an NFL player was having trouble purchasing a sofa.
Couch.
I thought, yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I think Lutz has done okay the last few years. He ought to be able to drop a few $100, maybe even $1,000 on a couch. But yeah, Lutz, it's touch and go. And I feel like, I don't know Will Lutz at all, but you feel like if he's a reasonable person, if it was me, I would look at the last 2 years and look at week 1, and I know who I'm working for.
Yeah.
You could be out of the NFL forever in like 5 days. Like that could be real close. Like if you had a rough game at fullback or you had a rough game at defensive tackle, you feel like you got a pretty good chance of being on the team next week. Kicker, like, man, there's like 15 guys probably lined up to take your kicker job, and they'll just get rid of you. So that's got to be on Will Lutz's mind at this point. So we'll see how things go up there in Denver. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Fired up for tomorrow's show. JD Piquel talking college football from the Hard Count, part of On 3 Sports. We will certainly do a What If Wednesday tomorrow as well, and we will get our SEC Power Rankings. A lot of shakeup. Got a lot of folks losing, odd games. I'll have to put some thought into my Power Rankings for tomorrow, but we'll certainly get to that. If you missed today's show, always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google, as well as YouTube. I opened today's show talking about Peyton Turner's turf toe injury and where the Saints go from here. You can always catch that Hunt on Saints on YouTube. We'd really appreciate it if y'all to subscribe to Hunt on Saints. Helps us out a lot, getting our content in front of as many eyeballs as we can. At 1:15, I talked about LSU's offense and where I think this season goes from here, kind of big picture stuff on a Tuesday. Glenn West of Go 24/7 was with us at 1:30. My thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers situation in hour one as well. Zach Arnett talking about the Arizona game and preparing for Jaden Daniels and LSU. That opened in hour number 2. We also heard from Brian Kelly and Sharif Ishak from WDSU before a little Take It or Leave It. I'm done for today. Matt Moscona is going to drive you home on After Further Review. Hope to see you tonight at Pluckers. If not, same time, same place tomorrow. It's always 1 to 3 right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.